Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. In a pre-Super Bowl interview with Brett Baier, President Trump predicted Elon Musk will find hundreds of billions in waste as part of the ongoing DOGE investigations into all parts of the federal government operation and spending. We have some of the latest updates for you. Trump is the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl. Did you watch? President Trump received a huge welcome, and that was about it, as the game was anything but exciting. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated the Kansas City Chiefs with the final score being 40-22. Elon Musk is calling for the impeachment of an Obama-appointed federal judge who ruled that DOGE can't access personal and financial data stored at the Treasury Department. This is a temporary stop to the work in the Treasury Department until a hearing on Friday. And South Carolina Senator Josh Kimbrell joins us to talk about the first weeks in the new legislative session and the rumor that he may be running for governor in 2026.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Donald Trump's decision to enlist Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, to probe wasteful spending in the Department of Education and the Department of Defense marks a significant move in his administration's efforts to slash government inefficiencies, and these are just a couple of the agencies. All agencies will be reviewed in the coming months. President Trump's remarks made in a pre-Super Bowl interview with Fox News' Brett Baier underscores his aggressive push to cut down on what he perceives as bureaucratic excess. He emphasized that Musk, despite his numerous business commitments, has been a trustworthy ally in fulfilling the administration's promise to just cut through the red tape.
I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this, and the people want me to find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific.
Bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. And, the people elected me on that.
Yes, we did elect him to do just what DOGE is doing. Since its launch on January 20th, DOGE has focused on identifying inefficiencies, redundancies within federal agencies. And again, there's not a federal agency that is immune from a good audit, a good looking over from DOGE. Now, with Trump directing Musk to shift his attention to the Department of Education and the Department of Defense, the initiative is likely to uncover billions of dollars in waste, in fraud, and in abuse. And it's going to get dicey. The Department of Education, for example, Trump has long been critical of the federal government's role in education, arguing that states should take the lead. His directive for Musk is to investigate the Department of Education and see what can be done to better align it with Republicans' efforts to shrink or even eliminate the Department of Education. Elimination of the Department of Education is not off the table. In fact, the Secretary of Education has been tasked with trying to decide if, in fact, the Department of Education can be eliminated and just how to do that. I mean, we may have, for the first time in history, a cabinet secretary charged with eliminating their agency. The Department of Defense. The Pentagon, of course, has historically been flagged for failed audits, overspending, spending hundreds of dollars for a hammer or a $100 ashtray, reports of billions in unaccounted for funds. In some cases, they don't even know the money that they spent. Trillions of dollars. They don't know where it is. Musk's involvement could bring an efficiency-focused, technology-driven approach to streamlining military expenditures, and again, just reevaluating everything that is spent. The push to investigate and possibly reduce funding for these agencies has, of course, sparked a backlash from Democrats primarily and the bureaucrats who see their jobs potentially being eliminated. Last week, 30 House Democrats attempted to enter the Department of Education headquarters to protest against potential cuts, but were blocked by security. You probably saw some of that as they were wailing outside of the Department of Education trying to get in. Again, Trump has reiterated that he expects Linda McMahon, his nominee for Education Secretary, to work towards eliminating her own department, a move that aligns with longstanding conservative views that the federal oversight in education is just simply unnecessary. Spend a portion of that money back to the local school district, send it back to the states, and let them do grants to local school districts. And I think we could have a much better education system. Musk has already uncovered just a long list of things. He's reportedly outlined several super obvious government inefficiencies that his team is working to address, while some of his proposed cuts and restructuring plans are undisclosed. We don't know just exactly where he's headed with it. Sources suggest that he's already identified redundant contracts, outdated IT systems, and overlapping federal programs as key areas for reform. With Trump's directive now in place, you can expect DOGE to release initial findings in the coming months. You know, Trump has asked him to get this done before summer of next year. But at the pace he's going, it may not take him that long. The administration is likely to probably push for some legislative solutions, asking the GOP-controlled U.S. House and U.S. Senate to put into law some of the changes that are necessary in order to make it impossible for some future administration not to come undo what they're doing. Because that's how bureaucrats work. Bureaucrats try to keep themselves in a job. They're not concerned with doing a good job. They're not concerned even with making sure that their federal agency operates efficiently. They just want to keep their job. They don't care that your money, my money, our hard-earned tax dollars are wasted. So it's going to be fun to watch, and we're going to keep you informed all along the way. By the way, as for the Super Bowl, and there was a lot of excitement, focus on Donald Trump being there. There wasn't much super about the Super Bowl. I don't know who you're a fan of, if you were a Philadelphia fan or a Kansas City fan, but the Philadelphia Eagles stopped NFL history in its tracks as they dominated Kansas City Chiefs, beating them 40-22 to win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs were looking to be the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. But the Eagles, a team who lost to the Chiefs 2 seasons ago in the big game, made sure that did not happen. They were there to seek revenge, and revenge they got. Philadelphia now has its second Lombardi trophy for the organization, having defeated Tom Brady and New England Patriots in 2018 for their first. And again, it wasn't even an exciting game because Philadelphia led the whole first half. They shut them out in the first half. It wasn't, 40-22 doesn't necessarily sound that bad, but the Chiefs finally scored several of those touchdowns in the final quarter of the game. That was just done. That's behind us. All right, so back to DOGE and what's next for DOGE. The Department of Health and Human Services has canceled more than $180 million in contracts over the last 48 hours, basically over the weekend. It includes nearly a $170,000 contract for, you ready for this, an Anthony Fauci museum exhibit. Now, don't you know Donald Trump canceled that contract? Don't you know that just made him very happy? I mean, why does Anthony Fauci need a museum exhibit? In the past 48 hours, and this was a Department of Government Efficiency social media post, saying in the past 48 hours, HHS canceled 62 contracts worth $182 million. These contracts were entirely for administrative expenses. None touched any health care programs. This included terminating a $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH Museum. The news comes as DOGE has continued to outline vast changes in government spending over the last few weeks. I mean, think about it. They've already saved billions of dollars, and they've just been in existence for, 3 weeks? Just over 3 weeks? Imagine what can happen in about 3 years if these federal judges will leave them alone. Seemingly no federal agency has been excluded from the reach of DOGE, and that's what Trump wants. He wants them to reach wide and to reach far. And again, it's going to be fun to watch, and we're going to take you along the way, every step of the way, to keep you informed. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Representative Mary Miller is a Republican from Illinois, and she referred to Representative Sarah McBride, the Democrat from Delaware, who identifies as a transgender woman, as Mr. McBride when recognizing him on the floor of the U.S. House for his first floor speech.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Delaware, Mr. McBride, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I was elected, I promised to work with anyone who would help.
That just upset the Democrats to no end, that she disrespected Representative Sarah McBride. What are they supposed to do? Now, Mr. McBride or Mrs. McBride or Miss McBride or whatever she wants to be called did not respond to Representative Miller's comment when Miller next recognized Representative Nanette Berrigan, a Democrat from California, to deliver a speech. Berrigan began by saying, "Thank you, Mr. Speaker," to make light of Ms. Miller. Ms. Miller is a biological woman, by the way. Fox News Digital reported they had reached out to Representative McBride's office to request a comment from the lawmaker on Friday. A spokesperson pointed to McBride's full floor speech, which is featured in a post on X, saying, "This morning I delivered my first speech on the floor of the House. During the speech, I talked about how the government, piece by piece, the Trump administration is defunding critical federal services, purging employees, consolidating power, and cutting and gutting programs that Delawareans rely on. They are trying to decimate the federal government and sell it for parks to line the pockets of donors at the expense of working people." McBride went on to say they do not want to make government more efficient. They want to prove the government can't work by making it not work. Now, again, this is just an example of how far out of tune Democrats are. And I guess because this person, he is a transgender, he is a biological male who dresses like a woman, the first to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives, and is so out of touch with the American people that he just doesn't realize that we're over that. And we elected Donald Trump to bring some normalcy back to our lives. And the president started it last week when he signed an executive order protecting women's sports to eliminate things just like this. Now, Representative Miller is a member of the House Freedom Caucus. She declared in a post on X that she had refused to deny biological reality on the chamber floor. She said, President Trump restored biological truth in the federal government, and I refuse to perpetuate the lie that gender is open to our interpretation because it's not. Kudos to Representative Miller for doing that. Hey, did you watch the Super Bowl last night? Were you pleased with the outcome? We'll talk more a little later about the winning team. I didn't really have a team, so it didn't matter to me whether Philly or Kansas City won. But I had a great time watching the game with some good friends. We watched it with the Caissons. You've heard me talk about Gary and Patty Caisson, Melissa and Corey, her husband, and this year's Patty's sister, Mary, was with us as well. The Caissons are just great people. They're good friends. You've heard me talk about them a lot. Live it, love it, like it. Remember, WeSellKiwi.com. They're the folks that helped us find our home on Lake Kiwi. We have just really enjoyed these past almost 5 years now. Which Super Bowl ad was your favorite? Did they live up to previous years? They spend millions of dollars on these ads. Well, one of the more interesting spots that was played, the U.S. Secret Service. They had a recruiting video for NFL fans inside the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans just before the game kicked off. So depending on how you were watching, you may or may not have seen it because it was not played on the network, but some streaming services had it. It was a minute long, was produced by award-winning American director Michael Bay, and it began with some compelling scenes of American history. Here it is.
America was founded on an idea of freedom. America's always stepped forward in time of need throughout our short but powerful history.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Tear down this wall.
We've been there for all of it.
The second plane hit the tower.
Our heroes are humble. They have an inner pride to keep this idea alive. Protectors are born, they're not made. America's Secret Service protecting this Super Bowl is asking a few more to step forward.
It was a great spot. It really, when you watch some of the video, it talked about America being founded on the idea of freedom. Scenes of American servicemen and women flashed alongside, and scenes of some of the infamous assassination attempts, including the 1981 attack on former President Ronald Reagan, and had, of course, scenes of the attacks on President Donald Trump, who survived a July 13th assassination attempt after being shot in the ear during the campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. They talked about our heroes are humble, that they have this inner pride to keep this idea alive. And they said protectors are born, they're not made. America's Secret Service protecting this Super Bowl is asking a few more to step forward. They need agents. And they thought this is a great crowd to recruit Secret Service agents from. The recruiting ad comes, of course, just weeks after President Trump nominated Sean Curran, the head of his personal Secret Service detail, to serve as director of the U.S. Secret Service. Curran was one of the several agents that rushed to the stage in Butler to protect the president. Trump said of his pick in a Truth Social post last month, Sean is a great patriot who has protected my family over the past years, and that is why I trust him to lead the brave men and women of the United States Secret Service. Trump became the first sitting president to attend a Super Bowl when he appeared at the Superdome last night to watch the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. By the way, did you happen to hear the story about the Lady Gamecocks coach, Dawn Staley? Evidently, she was planning to leave right after the Gamecocks basketball game in Texas, which, by the way, they lost. Sadly, the number 2 South Carolina Lady Gamecocks lost it to the Texas Longhorns 66-62, giving Dawn Staley's squad its first SEC loss of the season. The loss snaps South Carolina's 57-game SEC regular season win streak. But Staley was planning to go to the Super Bowl in a private jet after the game, but because President Trump was there, the airspace is closed down, and the last I heard, she was not going to be able to attend because of the restricted airspace. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. On our text line, Mr. Thomas in Morganton writes, I love what DOGE is doing. I think it's exactly what we've been needing for a very long time, but I can't help but to be reminded of the Communist Manifesto Cleon Skousen wrote about in his book, The Naked Communist, as we read the reports of DOGE's findings. Love you, Joey. Keep up the good work. God is good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Faye writes, oh, Joey, Thomas Ravenel is running for governor? Lordy, he is the last person we need. Unfortunately, his parents have enough money to buy the job for him. We have to really pray him away. We need Pamela Evett, a common-sense lady. Look, there's going to be a lot of discussion over the next almost 2 years as far as South Carolina's governor. Texter, please see Catherine Austin Fitz-Solari's report link above on 21 trillion missing taxpayer funds. Please consider sharing with Trump, Vance, Elon, and the MAGA team. They need Catherine Austin Fitz on the MAGA team ASAP. Fitz is a former Secretary of HUD. She has excellent reports and videos exposing government corruption, theft, and waste. Well, thank you for sending me that link. I will certainly take a look at it. Tony writes, Joey, answer this. Why would a judge block Elon from entering Treasury to start his audit if they have nothing to hide? Democrats are so scared they have to use a judge to stop it. That's the truth, Tony. There is no logical reason why a federal judge would want to stop Elon Musk from saving our government from waste, from abuse, from fraud. Why would a judge care? Except he was appointed by Barack Obama. He's a leftist. He's a liberal. Elon Musk has called for him to be impeached. We'll see. Albert writes, the security guard at the Federal Department of Education should get a raise and bonus for having to deal with Maxine Waters. Yeah, she was over there yelling and screaming at this poor guy. Well, just get ready, because there's going to be more yelling, screaming, crying, and gnashing of teeth, because we've got a long way to go. But a new CBS News poll released yesterday says President Donald Trump is doing exactly what we asked him to do. He's at his highest approval rating over both of his terms, with 53% of voters approving of his leadership so far. Just weeks into his second term, voters believe Trump has followed through on his campaign vows regarding issues like immigration, foreign affairs, and eliminating government waste. On Face the Nation, CBS host Margaret Brennan opened the show by discussing their new poll on voters' feelings towards Trump with CBS News elections and survey executive director Anthony Salvanto, in which he showed how the majority not only approve of President Trump, but 70% believe he's sticking to his campaign vows.
We begin today with our first assessment of how President Trump and his policies are doing just 3 weeks into his second term. Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony. What's driving this?
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He's doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers. So as people take a look in these first few weeks, there's been a lot of activity. They're getting that general sense of governance, and that's being reflected in these early numbers.
So that's perception. What about the actual policies?
Well, let's start with the ones that are popular. And again, these echo a lot of what we saw in the campaign. The idea of deporting those in the country illegally continues to be popular. We saw that in the campaign. Sending troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Again, majority in favor. We'd seen that in the campaign. For his supporters in particular, the focus on ending DEI is popular. We had seen in the campaign a lot of them thought those processes had gone too far.
And this survey shows what you and I know. The Democrats, again, they jump up and down, they yell and they scream and they cry, with Maxine Waters and her cronies showing up at the Department of Education the other day. But that, again, and I know I keep repeating this, just shows how far out of touch they are. They just don't get it, that Trump, as this CBS poll shows, is doing what we want him to do. And I know that had to hurt Margaret Brennan to admit that their own poll, and these polls aren't cheap for CBS to pay for it, but their own poll shows that Trump is doing what he said he would do, and we're happy with that. The poll consisted of 2,175 U.S. adults. They talked with them between February 5th and the 7th, found that 69% described Trump as tough, 63% say he's energetic, 60% called him focused, and 58% describing as being effective. Now, Joe Biden would have never gotten anywhere close to those numbers in any of those categories. The poll says during his first few weeks in office, 49% of respondents said that the president was doing more than they had expected. 41% said it was as much as they had expected. 9% thought it was less than what they had expected. Trump shows positive signs on issues like deporting criminal illegal immigrants, with 59% approving of the crackdown. Some Americans appear slightly concerned with issues regarding the economy. According to the survey, 66% of Americans said they did not believe the administration was focusing enough on lowering prices of goods and services, with 31% saying that it was the right amount, 3% saying that it was too much. Respondents gave mixed feedbacks on prices that they've been seeing over the last few weeks. 47% saying prices in general were increasing, 41% saying that they were staying about the same. The survey also showed a divide on gas and egg costs, with 33% saying their gas had gone up and 63% saying their egg prices had gone up. 41% said their gas was the same and 23% said their egg prices had stayed the same too. Now, this is going to get tricky because Trump can't just sign an executive order to make prices come down. There's a lot of things that are going to have to happen. For example, for those farmers to be able to reduce the cost of their eggs. Fuel prices are going to have to be down and stay down for a while. Labor costs are going to have to come down. Feed costs are going to have to come down. So this is where we've got to educate our friends and our family who are complaining that Trump's not doing what he said he was going to do as far as costs of goods, because it's going to take a little time for the economy to rebound from the damage that took place during the 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But it will happen. It will happen when the tax cuts are extended, when we can have 6, 8, 10 months of an economy, a growing economy. So we got to be patient. And again, it's our job, when you hear somebody at work or at school or at church complaining because, well, prices haven't come down yet. Well, the man's only been in office a few weeks. And to turn the economy around, it's going to take a little bit longer as opposed to closing the border, for example. But he'll get there. I promise you. He'll get there. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. On our guest line from Spartanburg, Senator Josh Kimbrell. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Well, Joey, doing well. Good to be with you. Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, too. Appreciate your time. You guys have been in session for not quite a month now. Why don't we start with a quick overview of how you believe things are going?
Well, it's been a very uneven and stilted start to the year, in my view. We had obviously the presidential inaugural, and so that we took a few days off for that, although the same week it ended up being a snowstorm, so that put everything kind of back on the schedule. So we're trying to play catch up, trying to get more stuff onto the floor, and it's been a very uneven start to the 2025 session, but we're getting some things moving now, and hopefully we pick up the tempo and pass some serious priorities.
Yeah. This past week, I saw where you guys, a judiciary subcommittee, was working on an issue concerning driving under the influence. And I saw your video talking about the story of a 12-year-old boy, Ethan, in the Bowling Springs area who lost his life just shy of 12 years old because of a driver under the influence. What can we do to stop this type of tragedy?
Well, we're going to have to update the way we assess people who we believe are driving impaired. And look, I'm all for making sure we have a proper protection for people's constitutional rights. I mean, by no stretch do I think you should have somebody swerving and then you pull them over, shove a needle in their arm. I mean, we still got to have probable cause and right safeguards in place, obviously. But one of the things that if you look at the conviction rate, if you have people who are pulled over by police officers right now, they believe that there's probable cause. The conviction rate is only about 48% for people who are arrested for DUI. And the reason is we still do old stuff like breathalyzer tests or urinalysis. Well, the reality is about 50% of the people now who are driving under the influence are driving under the influence of something other than alcohol. So in a lot of these cases, including the story you just cited that I referenced in my video the other day of the 12-year-old killed in my district, the guy who killed him was under the influence of like coke or marijuana gummies and other substances. Well, you can't get that from a breathalyzer. So if you pull a guy over who's driving erratically, obviously is under the influence, and he's on a gummy, and you give him a breathalyzer, you're not going to catch him with a breathalyzer. You're going to have a blood test. So if we can't do something to enhance the DUI laws to ensure that a blood test can catch the substances in his system, you're not going to convict him. And so therefore, we're going to keep having this catch and release policy. So the number one thing we've got to do is enhance the way we're doing the testing and make sure we're catching people who are on stuff other than alcohol, because at least half now of DUI cases are no longer related to alcohol.
Yeah. And isn't this a potential problem? I know that the idea of legalizing medical marijuana is before you again this session. It comes up every year, it seems. Isn't this a potential problem with legalizing the use of marijuana in South Carolina? The fact that you could have someone driving under the influence, and it's hard to tell.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, and yes, that's right. And I've tried to be very fair on that discussion, because I know a lot of people have talked to me about people with chronic illnesses who need help from stuff other than maybe some of the pharmaceuticals. And I have sympathy and compassion on that, and I've tried to be very open on that debate. But Joey, I've read more and more stuff on it that I've had more and more concerns about the way that some of these gummies and things would happen, and it's real hard to police that. So yeah, I think it makes us take another look at that, and we have to revisit that debate. While I certainly understand trying to provide chronic long-term pain management, we've got to find ways to do that will not make this problem worse. Because if 50% of the people driving under the influence are on, I heard a term this week I'd never heard before from a SLED agent who was testifying to our subcommittee on the DUI law. He called it people in a polydrug situation. I don't know if you've ever heard that term. I'd never heard that.
Polydrug?
Polydrug,
Huh.
where people are on, to that point, about gummies or taking Xanax. And I honestly ask, I say, how in the world is somebody still alive if they're taking Xanax or Oxy and they're chewing on gummies. First off, I don't see how they even get behind the wheel of a car. I don't even know how they're alive to get behind the wheel of a car. We have people who are literally on up to 10 substances who are getting behind the wheel of a car, and then they're managing to drive that vehicle, and in many cases killing somebody. We have really got an opioid and drug crisis, and we need to do something to roll that back.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Let's talk a minute. With me today, Senator Josh Kimbrell. I know one of the other issues that is at the top of the list, maybe one of the top 5, is our liability insurance crisis that's affected so many small businesses. Give us an update on where you believe we are with that.
Well, it's going to come down to finding something that works on both sides. I gave a speech on the floor of the Senate this week, and I've coined a phrase I think I'm going to keep running with. I think it's right. Is I'm not the senator from all nines or all states. It seems like most of the people who want to talk about this are on one side of this or the other. We have two different camps that have sort of dug in. One side wants to make it to where we give insurance companies the ability to do what's called an undesignated plaintiff exemption, where basically, if you go to court, let's say you are a small business and you have a defective product or something like that, and you have an insurance policy, and you go to court, and then the insurance company says, well, this product was made in China. You can just write on there, not my fault, basically, and just undesignate the plaintiff, put it off on a third party, and the insurance company's off the hook. Well, that's not fair to the small business. All you're going to do then is make the insurance policy worthless. So that undesignated plaintiff thing is a gift to the insurance companies, and in my view, is very dangerous to small businesses and anybody who has a policy. I think that's a dangerous precedent to set. So that's something a kind of a thing the insurance companies want that I don't like. Then on the flip side, you have these enormous jury verdicts where some of the bad actors, and there are good trial lawyers out there, but there's the bad ones that I call the all nine types, the ones that are chasing the ambulances on the Price is Right on 11 o'clock every day, who want to just go file egregious junk lawsuits, and you got to go after those too, because that makes it impossible for insurance companies who are trying to do the right thing to actually underwrite a reasonable insurance product. So if you don't do something about those two biggies, the inability to actually do actuarial underwriting and the ability to deal with this undesignated plaintiff issue, I don't know how you're going to bring down prices for consumers. We've got to make it to where small businesses can actually afford good insurance, and that insurance means something when things go bad. And those that's got to be solved. So I tell people we got to stop trying to solve for all nines or all state and start solving for mom and pop.
Yeah. Senator Josh Kimbrell with me today. All right, Senator, I can't let you go. We got a couple minutes left here without asking about the rumors that you may be a candidate for governor in 2026. Now, we know that there's several other likely candidates out there, but former State Treasurer Thomas Ravenel seems to be the first official candidate, announcing on X, he said, "I'm running for governor of South Carolina, and none of the lightweights currently in the race are going to stop me." Now, Senator, I don't know if he was including you in that category as being a lightweight or what, but what's your response to that? And what about some of the rumors that you may be a candidate yourself?
Well, let's take the part about Thomas Ravenel first. I mean, he can call anybody a lightweight if he wants, but guess what? Whoever he is calling a lightweight, whoever that might include, at least we could all actually serve. I mean, one of the things that our state constitution precludes you from doing is serving if you're a felon. And so he's a convicted felon. Many people may forget he dealt cocaine out of his office as state treasurer. He has a convicted felon. So even if he ran for governor, he can't legally vote for himself. And if he were to somehow get elected, which is not going to happen, he couldn't even serve as governor. So I take him as a lightweight candidate, if that's what the definition is. As to whether I'm going to run, look, I'm seriously weighing it because I believe, Joey, and I've always believed this, there are two ways to look at this. You've got candidates, and this has been true of the governors you and I have experienced in our time in public life in this state, and you and I are native South Carolinians. You have one of two extremes. You have folks that are just total establishment types who don't really want to do anything, who kind of go along to get along and never want to rock the boat. Those are not good because you don't do any kind of real reform, and we need real reform. Or you have folks like, God bless him at the time, he was a good governor on policy, then he lost his mind later. But people like Mark Sanford, who ran for governor on a reform platform, once he became governor, he could never work with anybody, never got along with anybody, never got anything done. And so he had some great ideas about cutting taxes and reforming government and all of that, but he never could get any of it done. So, and then Nikki Haley came along. She was too busy running for president from day one. So you've got to have somebody who has a reform-minded idea. You want to do something. You want to change the status quo, actually cut taxes, really reform government, reduce these liability rates we talked about, defend our culture, all these things that we talk about as conservatives, but also know how to actually do it. So if I do get in, and I am really seriously thinking about it, I would be a reform-minded governor, but I would be somebody who would actually not just go out there and do stuff to generate headlines on Twitter, but actually govern. And it would be really great. I would look at it in the mold of a DeSantis. Go out there and be a conservative fighter, but actually get it done. Don't talk about it, do it. And don't just do things for headlines, actually deliver for people.
Yep. Senator Josh Kimbrell, it's always a pleasure. Now, can I get a commitment from you that when you get ready to make that announcement that you'll do it right here on Sunrise, Carolina?
I'll do it right here with you, Joey. I'll call you first.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that, Senator. Always a pleasure. Have a great day and appreciate your time.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.